Good morning. I'm going to talk a little bit about the part of the paper that I wrote over hooliganism in the international soccer setting. Uh, Before I do that, I'd kind of like to define what hooliganism is, if I can pronounce it. It's basically disruptive, aggressive, violent behavior by spectators, and this is largely centered around international soccer games in Europe. And to be honest with you, when I read over this topic and researched it a little bit, I had no idea it was as violent and prevalent as it was. But it was very, very interesting. And what I'd like to do is look at how hooliganism is seen socially, because there are large firms or gangs that gravitate around the specific soccer teams that are found in different towns or cities or countries there in Europe, and they are very, very prideful and loyal. And one of the many reasons why hooliganism takes place is because of the need to feel like you belong in one of these firms. But socially, from the early times up until the 1960s, nobody really thought much of the violence that was occurring. They pretty much thought it was part of the game. I don't know what the players thought, but usually there'd be several severe outbreaks every time two cities or two countries collided on the soccer field. But once you got through the 1960s and up into the 1980s, the violence really started to open up a lot of people's eyes in society, and it kind of had a negative effect on the game. Even to the part where English Parliament got involved politically and legislatively to try to regulate a lot of hooliganistic activity. Now, there are several contributors to hooliganism. Soccer is one of the most popular worldwide games, and it is the most popular game in Europe. And a lot of its supporters are basically those of the lower economic class. These people kind of gravitate together, their loyalties and their fan base, supporting the team in their country or their city. They kind of look forward to the soccer matches, and when their teams don't play well or they don't succeed, or there were other factors involved, these fans would tend to take it pretty hard. A couple other factors, racism was involved, and I know that when we think about racism here in our country, we automatically think about skin color, which was true in Europe, because after World War II, you started to see African Americans start joining the soccer leagues that Europeans played in. Early on, they weren't as competitive, but as generations kind of handed off to each other, the African American teams became very, very competitive and started winning some matches. And racism was definitely an issue there with the hooligans. Alcohol, of course, was a major contributing factor to a lot of the destructive behavior, even to the point, here recently, English Parliament is really trying to place bans on any alcohol sold inside the stadiums. This is helping with some of the activity during the game, but hooligans are finding ways around this. They tailgate, they go to their local pubs, they walk to the games, they're all amped and charged up, ready to have a good time. So they're finding ways to get themselves altered before the game. And some of them are turning to drugs, using drugs to get in and to do what they need to do during the games. So you have racism, you have alcohol, economic class. But one of the biggest contributors to hooliganism is the amount of pride and loyalty that these people have towards their soccer team, and how noble it is seen for these guys to actually fight fans from other towns and other cities and other countries and actually put a beat down on them, because that shows a lot of prestigious feelings, and that those things are very, very admirable in the hooliganistic society. So a little bit about hooliganism. I still have a hard time pronouncing it. but I know a little bit more about it, and in the end it was a pretty interesting topic.